So with Webflow announcing DevLink, there's been a lot of conversations and questions that I've been having around basically how does this compare to Framer now that they've entered into the React kind of space? Is it competing, is it not competing, or all the rest of it? So in this video, I'm going to go through what I see are the differences and where these two tools might either sit alongside each other or compete with each other. The good thing is I went through Framer's documentation so you don't have to. Framer, just a word of advice, your documentation is a bit all over the place. Amongst the spelling mistakes and out-of-date imagery.
Has Framer lost it with their new site? There's like no headers, and if I scroll down, there's like just nothing on this site.
I combed through it and managed to figure out what the hell was going on with your coding stuff. So with that, if you're excited, please hit the like button and subscribe. And we'll just get on with it, I guess, right? So Webflow DevLink is pretty straightforward, okay? You build your components inside of Webflow, you then export those components to then you're able to consume those components in a React application, whether that be React or Next. You can change the data that's in those. If there's a paragraph of text, for instance, the designer can define that as editable so that you can change it in the code. You can listen out for events, which is really nice. And you can also combine components using slots. So really nice, straightforward, and quite simple. Framer, on the other hand, is a bit more complex. And with that, way more power comes from that, really. Ultimately, it's the developer that can create. This is what I've understood anyway. Again, the documentation isn't particularly clear, but a developer will define a component, a React component, inside of Framer or wherever. Actually, there's ways and means to do it outside of Framer, but a developer will define a component to which a designer can consume and use within their application. And a developer can give them access to kind of properties where they can change the text, change the color, maybe reference another component. There's quite a lot of power that goes into it. So it's a kind of role reversal in the Framer versus Webflow camp. However, Framer are working on what they call Handshake, which is the designer defining the component within Framer, and then you're able to export them and consume them in a React application. So there's really a direct competitor there. I was very confused kind of going through the documentation thinking, well, I just want to design a component and then just look at the code that's generated. Seemingly that's not possible within Framer. You have to define a component, or you have to create a code component, write the code for it, and then you can then use that within the applications. You can also create what they call high order components, whereby I can allow for any component to have a, I don't know, they often use the alpha sort of with alpha basically, or with opacity. So you put this wrapper around it that I have built, that the developer has built, that then can lower the opacity of any component or anything that you put in this wrapper. So there's another aspect to writing code or React code within Framer, which is quite nice. But getting back to the components themselves, you are also able to share data between components, which is quite nice. It starts to become a very powerful application there. Like, as I said, you can wrap those components. The property controls are very, very sophisticated. You know, with Webflow, you've only got text, events, and then slots that you can combine components. So way more options there. You've got numbers, you've got arrays, like I say, you've got components. These are called property controls, basically. And motion is actually built into these components as well. So you can do a bit more advanced animations, or if you prefer working in a kind of less visual way and more just the numbers and timings and blah, 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 then you can also do that with Framer Motion built-in, which is a fairly comprehensive and mature animation library. Those are the massive differences, but again, Framer is working on Handshake right now, which puts it in the same league as Webflow. And once again, in my last video that I spoke about DevLink, designers are preferring Framer because it's more close to Figma. So It'll be interesting to see how these two fight it out and how they work. I'm really interested to dig more into the coding side of Framer. If you want those types of videos, because let me know. But basically, it's its own ecosystem building components for Framer, and I think it could be quite powerful, but I need to understand a little bit more about it first. But it was quite interesting digging into it. So that's a quick overview of what the differences between DevLink and Framer are and their React feature set, let's call it. If you are interested in giving Framer a whirl, I've left the link in the description. And if you use the code PROYEARLYPARTNER, which I'll leave in the description too, you get 3 months free. So there's never a better time to try it out. And I hope it was helpful. And maybe you can start to get your head around this sort of stuff and decide which one is right for you. So I'll thank you for tuning in. And until next time, happy no coding.